Brand new TV show spoiler review here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnenberg, and today I'll be giving my spoiler thoughts and review of the first two episodes of the brand new Hulu FX show, Alien Earth. So if you're new guys to the channel, welcome to Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnenberg. If you're new, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications before we get started. Here, I do movie and TV show reviews, out of theater reactions, movie franchise rankings, and every Monday I break down the box office. So please consider subscribing, ringing the bell if you're new. Comment down below. What are your thoughts on Alien Earth? Did this live up to the hype? Did this underwhelm you? Do you want this to fit in more to the canon? Do you want this more to be its own thing? I'd love to hear all your thoughts on Alien Earth down in the comments section down below. And guys, also please hit the thumbs up button. Helps YouTube creators like myself get noticed more. So please hit that like button. So I was extremely excited for Alien Earth. I am a massive fan of the Alien franchise. Grew up watching Alien and Aliens all the time as a kid. And then just recently watched the other films for the first time, like Covenant, Prometheus, Resurrection, all of those films, and obviously Romulus, leading into. So I was just so excited that Noah Hawley is the one who is the showrunner. He directed the first episode and the creator of the show. He's obviously known for creating Fargo for FX, which is one of FX's top shows they've ever made. So he's definitely a top showrunner in Hollywood. So seeing him be passionate enough to make this whole Alien show, I was very excited. Now, because this is the first two episodes, I'm not going to break down each particular thing in the episode. Starting next week, I'll be more episode specific because, again, starting today, every single Wednesday, I'll have a new breakdown review of the new Alien episode. So 6 more weeks to go talking Alien, which is a lot of fun. So I thought this got off to a really good start. I really like Sydney Chandler in the lead role as Wendy. And we're adding a lot of new mythology here to the Alien universe, where obviously we are, if you're an Alien fan, you know all about androids. And there's always androids that are important in all of these movies. It started all the way back in 1979's Alien, when you're talking about Ash, played by Ian Holm, in Aliens and Alien 3, you had Bishop. You had Winona Ryder's character in Alien Resurrection. You had David Johnson's character in Romulus. You had Fassbender in the prequel movies in Prometheus and Covenant. They're very important. I like that this show is setting up the fact where it's more of a hybrid here, where kids who are dying of cancer, they're with this young trillionaire who's played by Samuel Blanken as Boy Cavalier. He is transferring these people's human minds into these androids so they can technically live on, and the idea of immortality. And that's something that Alien has always done since its original film. So yes, it can be put into a specific genre, if it's sci-fi, if it's action, if it's horror, but they ask a lot of philosophical questions. Always have, if it's about giving birth, if it's about motherhood, if it's about, do we want to know who our creators are and what that would mean to us? All these different things. And now this show is bringing in the idea of immortality, of if we're at some point going to die, because all humans are going to die, what would you do if you could be put into this android body where you couldn't be broken, you couldn't die, and you get to live this full life? And for these kids, they are about to die and not get a chance to live any kind of life. And now they're kind of getting their second chance being in this body. And also helped, Timothy Olyphant is in the show as Kirsch, who's also a big help in this. And that opening scene with the original Wendy, of course, I'm forgetting the name of the Marcy. So you had Marcy and Kirsch at the beginning with the scorpion. I thought that was a really good scene, setting up the fact of Marcy transitioning into the body of Wendy. I thought the look of the xenomorphs was really strong in these first two episodes. This definitely feels like it's trying to feel more like the first Alien movie. Now, Romulus was doing the same thing, where This is more about the horror aspect of it than the sci-fi action comedy aspect of it. This movie is really no comedy involved. It is all centered on the horrors of this. It does take place, I believe, 2 years before the events of the first Alien movie. And we have this ship that's in orbit, and we kind of get shot for shot, basically the opening scene of the first Alien in this show. And we get the one synthetic who is Moro, played by Babu Sise. Hope I'm saying his name right. And we kind of get like the fast forward version of the first Alien where we keep cutting through the ship, which is very similar to the ship in the first Alien. And we're seeing how the xenomorph gets out. And we're seeing how Moro is crashing it into Earth. Now, this is a big idea for the Alien franchise, and it's kind of unbelievable that it's taken, God, let's see now, over 40 years to get the Alien franchise on Earth. We're always on a ship or on a different planet in this franchise. And this time we have the ship crashing into Earth, and we have a xenomorph alive on Earth, and we have the eggs on the ship that are on Earth as well. And I think that is going to make for a very intriguing plot point. Now, I do think from like a theory perspective, there does need to be a cover up because 2 years later, Weyland-Yutani sends people on the mission that we see in the very first Alien movie to find the eggs and to find xenomorphs and bring them back to Earth. So it seems like something is either going to go wrong here, and there's going to be a big cover up from Weyland-Yutani where people still don't know about these missions because again, these are very secretive missions. These are not public missions that Weyland-Yutani is really doing here. And we have Mrs. Yutani in the show as well in episode 2. So I'm very interested in how they do the big cover up. If just the aliens die on Earth and then the Weyland-Yutani comes and says nothing happened here, and we're going to keep trying to get these specimens back to Earth. I do find that to be a very interesting plot point. But from a character perspective, Wendy is given the trying to be the big sister because she's the first subject to all these other kids who are becoming, not androids, a hybrid. And that is when they're about to, the ship crashes and the medical team is going in there, which includes Wendy's actual human brother of Hermit, played by Alex Lothar, who was a medic, who was trying to go to Mars to finish medical school for his promise for his dad because his dad passed away. And all he knows is his sister got taken away at a very young age. He has no idea his sister, first of all, is even alive, especially in another body. So he is trying to fulfill his father's promise. And the planet, very similar to opening of Romulus, where Kaylee Spainey's character was forced to stay on that planet. Hermit is forced to stay working for the next 7 months for the company, Prodigy, which is the company in the show. And Wendy is following him, basically, using the technology to make sure she sees him at all times. And she has the idea where he is in trouble, he is on this ship. She wants to go save her brother. But the trillionaire, excuse me, he sees this as his opportunity to see his hybrids in action. Now, again, these are children. This is a morally and also just legitimately a stupid idea because these are children. Yes, they are in human bodies and they're still growing into them from a brain perspective because they're still, and a lot of the performances here are really strong where with the other adults who are now the hybrids, they're still acting like children. Like if there was like the rock, paper, scissors, the way they sit with each other, it feels like children. That was all really well done. So Wendy goes to the planet and she does get to reunite with her brother. And obviously, as someone who's even a medic, he also is out of all the people wouldn't believe the idea that his sister is alive, but he keeps asking her to recite specific things she said to him or their parents said to them or anything, and he hugs her towards it. And it was a really, I thought, a good emotional point in the show where Wendy really wasn't going to tell him at first. And rightfully, Hermit doesn't have the right to believe him, but Wendy has all these memories and obviously feels like, and that's the point of this synthetic. The synthetics we've had in Alien, they don't try to be human beings. They don't try to act human. But this version, obviously, Wendy being a hybrid, she still sees herself as a human being. And that, I think, is another interesting thing to add into the show. As the xenomorph action was tons of fun. The violence, the bloodsucker, where that thing got into the guy's like killed the two military soldiers who Moro tied up. So, and then the creepiest, most well done scene was this eyeball creature that came out of a cat. It was gross. It was really well executed from a CGI and look perspective. And the show felt very intense because just like the first Alien, you have all these black wires, which makes you feel like the xenomorph can be anywhere. And that intensity I thought was felt throughout. So the episode two ends when basically Wendy's getting this jarring noise in her head and she can't figure out what it is. The closer she gets to the eggs, it's clearly the eggs. And I'm very interested in why she's getting this big of a reaction mentally with her brain with the eggs. What her connect, if it's the connection to the species themselves, that will be quite interesting if that's what they're going to go down for. But a xenomorph takes Hermit. Wendy tries to go after him, and she forces one of the other kids slightly to stay put with the egg. So it's going to be interesting if Prodigy does get their hands on these eggs, what they do with them. Um, are we going to be on Earth now for the rest of the show? Because obviously Wendy is now going to be tracking Hermit. So she's clearly going to be staying on Earth. Do they leave Wendy behind, the Prodigy? It's going to be very interesting. Now, I do think at times the show did drag a little bit. I will say from like it's not the most well-paced show. I I gotta be honest, the opening set piece of the first episode was like I was trying to focus on getting to know the crew, but I was so distracted by they were trying to do all these shot for shot recreations of the first Alien. I kind of had a hard time paying attention to caring about the crew dynamics, and then they kind of get killed off 30 seconds later. So I hope we get like a flashback scene on how the xenomorphs get out of their prison on the ship, because they did take a little bit time setting up the crew, but then they're just kind of killed off, and Morrow has his own mission. So hopefully there's more explored there. It's not the best pace show, but I still think Alien Earth is on to an excellent start. So what are your thoughts, guys, on Alien Earth? Let me know down in the comments. Like the video, subscribe again. I'll be here every Wednesday for the next 6 Wednesdays breaking down Alien Earth.